Hello and welcome to this episode of the GrowVC Everyone's Funding Startups podcast. I'm your host Marcus, and today we're talking to Chris Turner from Springwise. And Springwise is a community that spots trending business ideas, but I'm sure Chris can tell us more about Springwise in a second. So first of all, Chris, thank you for being on the podcast today. Let's start off with you. Would you give a little bit of a short introduction to yourself for our audience?
Sure, yeah. I've been working for Springwise for a little while. Before that, I was initially a marketer working for a marketing agency. After doing that, I moved into looking at consumer trends and examining broader issues that go into the relationship between consumers and businesses. And then after that, I moved down a far more practical route and started looking at the actual innovations themselves, startups and new businesses. And that's where I find myself now as Springwise, looking at those in a little bit more detail.
Could you explain in a nutshell what Springwise is?
Yeah, Springwise is essentially it's a stream of new business ideas and innovations from around the world. We have a team of spotters, a sort of community of spotters around the world, and there's about 15,000 of them now, who provide us with a constant updated feed of innovations and new businesses from their part of the world. And then the Springwise team, sift through these ideas for any truly sort of exciting and interesting innovations, and we serve these up to our readers. The idea being to, spark their own creative thoughts, innovations, and new businesses.
All right, and what sparked your own interest in entrepreneurship and innovation in the first place?
As I said, I started off, my career started in marketing, and I was initially attracted to that for the sort of creativity and innovation that you could explore in a marketing setting. But before long, I realised that the real sort of, the really enticing part of innovation is actually creating something from that. And, it's all very well having an idea, and then it's all very well creating a sort of marketing plan or campaign around that. But the sort of the peak of that satisfaction is really creating a whole enterprise or business or product or service around a creative idea that you've come up with. Over and above that, I love on a personal level, I love the sort of human stories that go into startups and new businesses, the kind of the human drama, if you like, that lies behind, a great new business you've spotted. There's so much blood, sweat and tears that's gone into kind of turning that from a concept or a dream into reality. And being able to chronicle that process with Springwise is really a privilege.
I went on Springwise and I noticed that GrowVC had also been spotted there for when GrowVC launched publicly about a year and a half back. Looking at the trends that are going on right now, what do you think? Can you identify some of the largest trends at the moment?
Yeah, there's so many interesting things going on at the moment. I guess one of the more interesting things that we're seeing at the moment, and that we're in a really sort of lucky position to be able to track better, I would say, than anybody else, is the truly global nature of the innovations and new businesses that we're seeing. It's not our content doesn't all come from the US, it doesn't all come from the UK or Europe, and in fact, it doesn't even come from the emerging economies, Brazil, Russia, India, China. We're seeing increasing numbers of really interesting and really innovative new businesses coming from Turkey or Mexico or South Africa, and our content is then built from a really, really interesting blend of all these countries, and really interesting stuff going on all around the world. And that's obviously down to, there's always been innovation coming from these countries, but the fact that we can pick up on that and we can share those innovations with other entrepreneurs or budding entrepreneurs from around the world is a fantastic opportunity for everybody involved. So that's a trend we're seeing. We're seeing more innovation coming from those places, and we're sharing that with our readers. Going a little bit more specifically into trends, there's so many interesting things going on. We sort of make a conscious decision not to focus too heavily on tech innovation. So, all the apps that we could write about on a daily basis, we somewhat steer clear of those, because simply for the reason that there are so many other people who cover that stuff and cover it very well. So one interesting innovation we're seeing actually is the sort of taking online innovation offline and offline innovation online, and the kind of blending of those two worlds. We're seeing a real trend for people using things such as QR codes or augmented reality to sort of, blend the two worlds and make the most of the innovation that you have in the tech space, but bringing that into, in a far more practical sense, into consumers' lives. There's just a couple of trends. I could go on.
Yeah, I imagine that you have quite a lot of things that you've seen and are seeing.
Absolutely, yeah.
What do you think about predicting future trends? Is it possible?
I mean, it certainly is possible, and people have done that with some success. I think our sort of take on this really is that it's not really that useful to speculate on trends in the future and what could be going on. I'm not sure how much actual value there is there, and I would argue, for example, that it's more useful to be on the cutting edge and fully tuned in to what's going on right now. The reason I say that is because I think that when it comes to business and when it comes to fulfilling the needs of consumers, those underlying needs don't really change. And in terms of the trends and the more sort of temporal changes that take place, yes, you should definitely be plugged into those, and you should be aware of exactly what's going on in innovation. But you can't predict those, and you can definitely make sure that you're fully aware of what's going to appeal to consumers, what's going to appeal to consumers in your particular market or your particular country or region. But being aware of those needs and then just keeping up to speed with exactly what's going on in innovation should really be enough to come up with something really compelling, rather than having to make slightly more kind of speculative predictions.
I imagine one practical application of sorts, at least, is in entrepreneurs that are coming up with new things, being on that brink of a new market. That can definitely be very valuable. So would you have any tips for entrepreneurs for identifying and taking advantage of trends?
I think, my main tip really would be to read Springwise. But that is, in all seriousness, the most valuable thing that you can do is to just watch and learn, and really get active interest in what's going on. Yes, in your market, in your industry, but in the sort of startup space in general. There's absolutely no substitute for that. Being aware of what's going on with your competition, what's going on with your market in your country, and just making that a passion. Turning that into something that is really at the very core of what you're trying to do with a new business, or with product and service innovation within an existing business. That kind of awareness and inspiration that you can derive from what's going on is really the most important thing when it comes to innovating successfully.
And you have a very interesting perspective since you're watching developments in many fields, and like you said, you don't really focus on one specific area. But in terms of getting that overview, that must be very valuable. And in terms of, let's look at entrepreneurship in the last couple of years, with the financial crash and with everything that has gone on last couple of years. Do you think entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship has changed or evolved in the last years, and how?
I think with the crash, obviously, it's thrown up a lot of challenges for entrepreneurs. I think probably the main thing that's come out of this is that everybody there seems to be a growing awareness of the real